Alright. Welcome to Sideboard MTG. My name's Eric, and we've got another of our patrons brews here for the Patreon games. This one in particular is by Jeffrey Hunt, or most of you guys may know him as Magic Hefe. Big-hearted guy, so I'm going to name this one Red Green Monster Heart. As the name gives, we've got a lot of monsters, and we're going to use those to crew the Heart of Kirin, along with some other nice synergy. So I want to go ahead and start out with happy birthday, Jeff. Hope you had a great one. And if you guys like Jeff's deck, give it a thumbs up. It's an awesome deck. I really like the idea that he's got going here, and some parts of it's even gotten me to thinking about maybe getting back into energy. We'll take a look at what I mean and go from there. All right, what's up, guys? Let's get a preview up here. There we go. Now, when I was talking about energy, it's only a two-color deck, but it is making some good use of the Aether Hub. Here we can use Aether Hub to kind of drain our mana from Greenbelt, or drain our energy from Greenbelt Rampager. But there's no real need to do that. There's no real need to cast Greenbelt Rampager multiple times in this deck, and that's something that I actually think that is worth looking at. We noticed earlier tonight when I played the deck. At first, I didn't even notice the Greenbelt Rampager Lifecrafter's Bestiary interaction. It's been so long since we'd seen it, since the days of Long Tusk Cub. But here we do have Greenbelt Rampager and no Lifecrafter's Bestiary. So maybe we'll kind of play around with that idea a little bit more. If it was good enough for Team Channel Fireball, then maybe it's good enough for us to take a look at. And I will say, I was quite impressed with the blue-green card deck. So Greenbelt Rampager might be in one of the best spots it's ever been in Standard right now. But he's running 4 of this. It's a really good body, and can really deal with things. I mean, Scrap Heap Scrounger can be blocked by this, and you get to keep your Greenbelt Rampager. If they have Goblin Chain Whirler, it doesn't kill this. They would have to swing with it and play another Chain Whirler. However, if they had a Chain Whirler to play first combat, you could get through this, kind of like Thrashing Brontodon. But for the most part, just a really good body, really cheap. You can get it out for 3 mana, but there's, I mean, you could cheat your way into a little extra energy maybe. But most of the time, this is going to be a 3 mana 3/4, which kind of makes me think maybe we should just be on Thrashing Brontodon, although you can spread this 3 mana out over a couple of turns, so that is an interaction to look forward to. Now, Land of War Elves, we did see it played again in the deck we played earlier tonight, and it works, as long as you don't run up against Goblin Chain Whirler decks, or at least hopefully you can get some value before Chain Whirler can come down. And that's kind of the plan here, is we want to get down maybe an early Grand Warlord Rada, or an early Rekindling Phoenix, or early Chandra. But for that, we're going to need the green early to cast Land of War Elf, and then we're going to need double red to come after that. So I am a little bit worried about the stress on the mana right there. However, we do have cards like Jadelight Ranger and things like that to help pull us through that. Just handing us a couple extra lands off the top if they happen to be there. Now, Jeff's running 24 lands, and that's a nice hefty number of lands. It's exactly what I would expect to see in one of these decks that doesn't really have a lot of cards above 4 mana. Just mainly the Glory Bringers here. And well, when I say mainly, the Glory Bringers is all he has above 5 mana. And he's got Grand Warlord Rada, which I'm not 100% on. I don't think there's a lot going on there where we can actually sink that mana. I would like to see a mana sink other than just maybe moving the Blackblade Reforged around. However, Blackblade Reforged is going to be a really, really good card, and I kind of wish we had something with Trample to kind of get that through, but yet none of our creatures really have trample. We can sacrifice an artifact. We don't really have a lot, but we can sacrifice an artifact to PNLR to make sure that one of our creatures can get through. And personally, I would like to see some trample or something like that in here. I don't know if there's a lot of use for Grand Warlord Rada. However, she's a really cool card, and I do like playing her. I just think that most of the time you're more than likely just going to want a nice mana sink. Now, one of the things that you do have as a mana sink, and it's basically the only one in the deck, is, well, I guess Ronus. You could also do Ronus at instant speed, so, you know, honestly, Hefe, you got me there. You've got two decent mana sinks here. We can, you know, attack, and as soon as we're attacking, whenever one or more creatures you control attack, that much mana is put into your mana pool. We have a combination of red and green. So we'll have that before damage. So we can actually put that into trample here with Ronus. So I guess he does have trample. So we'd put that on whatever's holding the black blade at the time. Or we can put that, like, get all red mana out of it and pump an artifact. Now, again, we only have a couple artifacts, but it does show that there's some pretty good fault here in the Grand Warlord Rada and the Ronus and PNLR. I would still like to see something else you could do, but honestly, Ronus might be enough by himself. You do need to be attacking with 3 creatures to be able to get 3 mana to pump with. However, that might not be very hard at all. We'll take a look at the deck and go from there. In the sideboard, Hefe's got a lot of burn force. He definitely wants to just kill stuff, get it out of his way. He's got 3 struggle to survive and a scavenger grounds. Well, personally, I think that we could probably survive with struggle to survive, but maybe we do need the scavenger grounds. I think struggle to survive is normally enough. If you're running 3 of them, you're normally going to have that answer to just shuffle the graveyards away. Struggle is really good because it's instant speed. You can do it at the beginning of their upkeep, or the beginning of their end step, and then, like, say it's the Scarab God or something, they won't get that back until the beginning of your end step. So it'll give you an entire turn to cast the sorcery side of it and survive. So that is an interaction. Sorcerer's Spyglass has a 3 of here in the deck is really good because, I mean, it just answers most of the deck, or most of the meta right now. Heart of Kirans, Teferis, Karns, you know, all of those good things. You can even stop hazards in the mono red decks with Sorcerer's Spyglass. So very good card, and if a mono red deck has to turn on a Braid towards a Sorcerer's Spyglass, then, you know, you're probably winning. Probably winning. 2 Magma Spray, because, I mean, let's face it, Scrap Heap Scrounger is getting a lot of play right now, even though there's not as much control floating around as there once was. Mainly because, you know, this weekend with the Pro Tour, everyone's playing like red-black, and I think that that Scrap Heap Scrounger is actually in a weaker spot this week and possibly next week than he's been in quite a long time, and that's mainly because he can't block. So against the mirror, I don't think Scrap Heap Scrounger is exactly where you want to be, but there are still a lot of people that are going to play those decks. You will see a lot of Scrap Heap Scroungers, and it may just take a little while for people to start to put him back in the sideboard against control decks. And until then, the Magma Sprays are going to be extremely important. So that, along with 3 Chandra's defeats to deal with, you know, opposing Phoenixes, Phoenix Totems or Elementals, Glory Bringers, just all kinds of really good stuff, including Chandra. Alright guys, that's his deck. We're going to take a look at it, get into a game, and check it out. You know, just check it out. Hefe, I hope you had a great 63rd birthday. You know, it's getting older is hard. I promise. Hefe's only 36, guys. He thinks he's getting old. Let him know he's not old yet. He's not old yet. He may feel old, but he's not old yet. Anyway, we're gonna keep this hand. Seems like a pretty decent hand. I mean, turn 2, we can just play Greenbelt twice if we want to. Sure. At least we'll have our mana sources. Scrap Heap Scrounger is not horrible against a control deck. Knight of Grace. Okay. We'll go ahead and play. Play our Greenbelt Rampager a few times. We'll try to get that down next turn. It does stop the Knights of Grace pretty well. Ooh. That's not cool. That's not cool, opponent. So this may be Esper Benalia. Okay, there's a Black Blade. Here we can go Greenbelt Rampager. Scrap Heap Scrounger. Next turn we can Warlord Rada. Black Blade Reforged. I don't know if it's going to be enough. Wonder how hard the opponent's going to hit us next turn. About 12 hard. Ooh. Never mind. 16. Okay. Well, at least he's not swinging this turn. Alright, so what can we do here? Alright, so let's Grand Warlord Rada. Is that right? I think it is. So, I don't really expect him to block here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit him for 6. And then we're going to create red. This mana won't empty, so we can move from phase to phase. Oh, he does block with the... it's fine, though. We needed the mana. We'll play the Black Blade. And pass. Definitely need some trample or something here. Alright, so these things are going to get quite large. Just blue-white Benalia, huh? Definitely need some removal here. Removal would be very nice. I think I have to trade with one of these here. I don't think I really have a lot of choice. That the trade just kind of has to happen. We're really looking for something large at this point. Land off the top wouldn't be horrible. Rekindling Phoenix is not bad. We're still dead though. The only way I had to live was to play the PNLR, and I butchered that. So we're gonna go ahead and concede. Yeah, PNLR would have allowed us to live one more turn, which would have allowed us to draw. We would have drew. Well, come on, Magic. Show me my next card. Okay, well, we'll just jump into the sideboard. Okay, so Magma Spray is probably going to be fairly good. And then a Braid is going to be 100% necessary. I'm going to cut a Black Blade Reforged. Scrap Heap Scrounger doesn't block. Cut a Jadelight Ranger and 1 Greenbelt Rampager. What else can we cut? Maybe 2 Greenbelts? I mean, it's not a Goblin Chain Whirler deck. Maybe Struggles, like if we just really need to kill creatures, maybe we'd bring in Struggle. I think we're just good with this, though. One of the good interactions with Greenbelt Rampager, and this is one that you know, Magic Hefe mentioned on the Patreon website, was that you can bring in Greenbelt Rampager, Crew Heart of Kirin, and then let it bounce. So there's some interaction there. I kind of like this hand. I really do. It's a little slow, but it's not that bad slow. I mean, we've got, you know, Heart of Kirin, we've got things like that. What is going on with my preview? Can we fix it? Can we make it better? There we go. That's a little bit better. Wow, this just curved out into be a really good hand. So we will Heart of Kirin, Heart of Kirin, Heart of Kirin, and it's just a really cool card. We'll play this. We can follow it up on turn 3, which before we didn't have a turn 3 play. We'll try to follow it up with this Scrap Heap Scrounger. And we're going to do that pre-combat so that we can crew. And we will attack for 4. I do like the fact that on turn 5 you can equip Black Blade to something like Heart of Kirin. I'm just going to play Chandra, uptick Chandra, play the Black Blade, swing at Gideon, and pass. Now, order whether we played that first main phase or second main phase didn't matter. The opponent was tapped out. Okay, so he's going to make Heart of Kirin weak again. And there's a Karn. Okay, Jadelight Ranger's not bad. If we give ourselves some more mana, what can we do? We might be able to Jadelight Ranger, hit a land drop, and then play Phoenix. Let's wait. Plus the Jadelight Ranger before we use the Chandra will give us more information. And then from there we can decide whether we want to just uptick it to cast the last card if we want to. Okay, so we got a land, a Greenbelt Rampager. I'm going to put the Greenbelt Rampager into the graveyard. And then I'm going to play the land. We're going to play or uptick Chandra for the 2 red. Use it and the colorless here to beef up our board state a little bit. Definitely going to try to crush that Gideon. That's a Karn. That's a Gideon. I mean, I assumed that this was to protect Gideon. Land of War Elves is not a bad card, just not exactly what we're looking for here. However, late game we get a Black Blade on a Land of War Elves, you could be looking at like an 8/8. So we're a 6/6 if you use the Land of War Elves to do it. Knight of Grace seems fine. So now he has to pick something he doesn't want to do damage. And then pretty much everything else kind of just beats him in the face. Ooh. He's just going to get frisky with the Gideon. Does he have land Fumigate? Oh, what a question. I think I have to go for it, just to find out. Maybe he has land Fumigate, and if he does, then we get wiped out here. I mean, he's got 7 cards in hand. The chances are pretty decent. There's land. Here comes a Fumigate. What? No Fumigate. So he's got Settle the Wreckage. Alright. So how do we do this? So let's say we go +2. Yeah, sure, right? Equipped to Jadelight Ranger. Seven mana, why not? Why not? We will crew. And we'll just try to kill them both. I mean, I could have, like, probably just, like, accrued and paid 3 mana to equip. Still been able to play a second Heart of Kirin, so that's probably bad use of my mana right there. I expect that we're just going to get settled either way. Alright, so I've got this going at Karn. We're going to send this at Gideon. Good old Gids getting it done. And then we'll take our Settle the Wreckage here. We'll go Forest and a Mountain just for funds. For good old funsies. I think we do everything in our power to make him tap out next turn so that he doesn't have a disallow available. You can have the Glacial Fortress. It means there's a Fumigate laying around. Don't have a blink. He has to be worried about this because this is going to do very bad things to him very, very fast. He is dead. Don't play blue mana. Okay. We can deal without this Phoenix. So, I mean, we block here 100%. Even if he has a way to deal with the token, that just, it can't matter for us. Just as long as he's not playing another blue source here, and this is turn 6, he's got 6 mana. Yeah, he's gonna scoop. He knows that that's gonna be the end. The Chandra emblem is just terrific. Now, because I've seen a little bit more of the deck now, I'm going to remove even more Greenbelt Rampagers and bring in the Sorcerer's Spyglasses. Also, Black Blade Reforged is decent. I'm going to keep one in, but I'm going to remove another. Now, I also want to remove maybe Magma Sprays. Maybe we do keep in the Black Blade, or just bring in another Jade Light. Nah, let's bring in the Black Blade again. Let's, I mean, it turns almost any of our creatures into a threat. So, Atlanta War Elves in the late game, you just put a bunch of, you know, put a Black Blade on it, and even Lano can go to war, you know? What am I saying? Lano's been to war more than most of us, right? Like, that card was built for war. Game 3 here. Let's see what happens. Ooh, a Chandra. I don't mind if I do. So I expect him to have Teferi and Karn and... I mean, and we've seen the Gideon. I'll just play the Hardy Kieran here. I'm willing to take a little bit of damage. We can always, like, turn 4, kill this. Is this a history? It does have the history. Okay. There's an Aether Hub. It's not horrible. That means that we're going to have our 4th mana for next turn. Now, what do I really want to do here? Do we want to get into a bit of a race with him? I think next turn we're going to be playing Chandra, upticking, abrading, and that means I'm willing to take 4 this turn and then leave the blockers back for his big History of Benalia turn. So I want to go ahead and, you know, do some damage this turn. This way we're not too far behind on the clock, and then hopefully we'll be able to catch up with our Chandra into a braid play. I mean, the better play also may just be Scrap Heap Scrounger into a braid. It may not be horrible at all. Yeah, I actually think Scrap Heap Scrounger into a braid might be better. Because that will allow us to... That will allow us to make some trades if we want to go that route. Now, this is only going to give +1. And I don't... I'm just going to go ahead and do this now, then. Nah, Scrap Heap's not a good blocker, so... the plan was to use him on their turn to crew this up, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem. We'll go Pianalar and Thopter here. We'll take the 4, eat one of his guys. The plan will be to try to get back on the side of board state. We might have to call Karn to, like, we may have to call Planeswalkers after they've been played. Oh man, what do you got going on here, opponent? Commit. Oh no. What is a blowout? We'll just make our Chandra play again. That upticks her to 5, which isn't horrible. And I guess now we start getting aggressive. He will have to pressure the Chandra at least. Chandra could pull us through this. Just whatever Planeswalker he plays, we'll just Sorcerer Spyglass it. Next turn, if we don't really have anything else, and Chandra like flips over a land, more than likely we're just looking at double Sorcerer Spyglass. Okay, so instead of flipping over a card, I'm going to make 2 mana with Chandra and just cycle. Okay, we get a Llanowar Elf. It does block. Let's go ahead and play our Sorcerer Spyglass. We'll look at his hand. We'll see exactly what we're dealing with. He's got Teferi. Okay. He's also got an Invoke. So we call Teferi. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Sorcerer Spyglass. Call Teferi. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. And then we will attack. So he's gonna play Wrath here. Still going to attack. I mean, we can't stop the flyer. Chandra dies, or maybe he hits us for 5, puts us on a 2-turn clock, but I kind of doubt it. I expect all of this is going at Chandra, so we need something decent off the top here. Let's go Scrap Heap Scrounger. Llanowar Elf. I mean, he can invoke and gain some mana. Alright, so we will need this energy to produce the black mana to bring back our Scrap Heap Scrounger. That will be a thing. We do need a blocker, something that can stop this Wrath. One of the things I want most in this deck is a little bit more removal. I think a little bit of main board removal would have been really nice. Grand Warlord Rada. Well, she definitely stops the ground action. But we still die in the air? We can just sacrifice the Llanowar Elf to whatever. Oh, what'd you top deck, opponent? So he's just gonna flash into Fairy. Benelish Marshall. Oh, we're going to be at 1 life. Boo. Glorybringer? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Heart of Kieran's not horrible. And we're still dead here, though. I mean, we're dead. Like, we're just dead. He's got too many creatures, and we're at 1 life. This deck's really, really close to being something very powerful. Let's see what he's gonna get there. Okay. Okay, opponent. Okay. You need to swing with everything, right? I mean, we're still dead. Yeah. Good game, opponent. Good game. Good game. Um, we definitely got to see the deck fight. Like, we didn't just get run over. We had mana to play our spells. We were never really hurting on mana. As far as the land goes, I think 24 felt right. I didn't feel choked or anything in any of our games. We took the opponent to game 3, so that, I mean, that was a really good playing. I mean, the blue-white historic deck, it's very, very mean. I think the blue-white historic deck's probably in the better spot than the normal Teferi deck. So, I mean, blue-white flash is a pretty good deck. So we were definitely fighting against a very powerful deck. And we didn't get to see some of our more powerful cards like Rishkar or Ronus. We didn't get to see much of the Black Blade Reforged action going on. And I don't know if we would have actually been able to or not, just because of, you know, overall structure. And I think that if, like, or just because of the way that that particular deck would have fought back, I personally think, do we have all the cards for this? I think I'm still missing just a few cards from the sideboard. I'm missing one Lifecrafter's Bestiary. I think that we could upgrade this deck very easily, or at least maybe tune this deck, cut back on a couple of the numbers. I like the idea of the Greenbelt Rampager. I just think that it would work really well with Lifecrafter's Bestiary as a form of card draw, especially against control decks. I wouldn't want a lot of that. And remember, when I was saying Scrap Heap Scrounger is just not a really good blocker, that we did get to see that exact scenario. Scrap Heap Scrounger is not really good in these aggressive metas. I know that was against Blue-White Historic, which is kind of a mid-range, Blue-White mid-range deck. And it does have some aggressive lines, but if Scrap Heap Scrounger would have been able to block, I think that we would have been in a little bit of a different situation. Also, I think the deck needs a little bit more main board removal. Also, I'm not 100% sold on Grand Warlord Rada, as a lot of times you may have to hold back and only swing with certain creatures just to kind of play around Settle the Wreckage or something like that. So what I've done here is I've cut back a Greenbelt Rampager, I've cut back one of the Black Blade Reforged. I like the card, but I don't think it's 3-of worthy. I know there's a lot of legendaries, and equipping it for 5 mana, or playing and equipping it for 5 mana is very, very doable in this deck. I personally just think that Grand Warlord Rada should be maybe something else. It could just either be more Rekindling Phoenix, which is a really, really good card, possibly even 2 Hazards, so that when you do just go Hellbent and you don't have any cards left in your hand, that Hazard is really, really good. Maybe not Grand Warlord Rada. I do like Rada, and I think she's really good, but I have elected to leave her in here for now because the gameplay with Ronus and Pianalar is more than enough. However, the cards that I cut, I used that spot to make some room for some Harness Lightnings. Now, and 1 copy of Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Now, the Harness Lightnings will give you another way to use some of that Greenbelt Rampager mana. The main board Lifecrafter's Bestiary, along with the sideboard Lifecrafter's Bestiaries, are going to give you a lot of card draw against these control decks. And if you have something like a Harness Lightning that you can rip that you know, energy away from, then that's actually going to be really good. I kind of wish there was a better energy sink, and honestly, it could end up being Long Tusk Cub. I mean, if you really want to go with something like Greenbelt Rampager, but for right now, I think that the Aether Hub will be enough. Another card that I did consider putting in here was the Servant of the Conduit. To just, you know, Greenbelt Rampager, you can use that to recharge your energy for Servant of the Conduit, and Aether Hub. You can kind of keep your energy about where you want it, so that you can continue to cast the Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Worst case scenario, you use 1 green mana from an Aether Hub every turn to activate the Lifecrafter's Bestiary, which will allow you to keep playing the Greenbelt Rampager. Just play it once, get your trigger, use the energy, that sort of thing. However, if you want to keep playing the Greenbelt Rampager multiple times every turn, you're going to want a better mana sink or a better energy sink in the deck. And again, Long Tusk Cub could be that card. And if we are at that point in the meta, then I would take the Scrap Heap Scroungers out of the main board altogether if we were really in a really aggressive meta. So you check your FNM, Hefe. You check your FNM, and if you think that there's not that much control at your FNM, go ahead and take these Scrap Heap Scroungers out. Try Long Tusk Cup. Give it a shot. Put the Scrap Heap Scroungers in the sideboard. I've got one in the sideboard for right now anyway, and that's mainly because I just think that the long game against the control decks is where you want that, and against these fast aggressive decks running braids and things like that, the Scrap Heap Scrounger is really not going to be exactly what you want. And against mono red decks that's turning things sideways every turn, Scrap Heap Scrounger is still not going to be exactly what you want. Also, there will be some synergies there with that Greenbelt Rampager, so if you do want to kind of like play that Greenbelt Rampager kind of style, look into either Long Tusk Cub or maybe even Voltaic Brawler in this spot. Brawler does crew the Heart of Kirin, so that would be something you can consider. But honestly, I think that you need to like just shave a couple of the cards, make a little bit of room for a little bit of burn. Now, I just chose to go with Harness Lightning because I think that it's another way you can just drain some of that energy away if you want to. I think you're really going to like the Lifecrafter's Bestiary. I've been able to draw a lot of cards in the past off of this combo, but again, that was in Long Tusk Cub decks. So, I mean, we used to play this in Teamer Energy, a really, really good card, and even back then we had a Greenbelt Rampager floating around in multiple Teamer Energy decks. So, I definitely think that there's some good, like, synergy here, and some of the things you've got going on is just, it feels really, really powerful. The only card that I'm currently in question about is the Grand Warlord Rada, but there's enough synergy there with the PNLR and the Ronus the Indomitable that I think that the card's still decent. Now, if you want any other like advice on the sideboard or anything like that, sideboards are going to be really specific to your meta. So if you don't want to go with the additional copies of Lifecrafter's Bestiary, I recommend at least one so that you can have at least 2 in the deck against control. However, against like you may not want 3. Also, Sorcerer's Spyglass, you may not want 3 Sorcerer's Spyglass. If everyone is switching to the red-green deck or the red-black deck, then we may not need as much Planeswalker control, and that was kind of one of the main reasons for Sorcerer's Spyglass, is to deal with cards like Teferi and Karn and things like that. However, it is good against Chandras and Hazoret and Heart of Kirin, so these are all things that you can consider. Chandra's Defeat, Magma Spray, and a Braid, all just really good cards, along with your Struggle to Survive. I think Struggle to Survive is playing a little bit of extra, like, double duty here. Honestly, I think you could also just go to maybe 4 Struggle to Survive and only 1 Chandra's Defeat, or maybe even none. I do think that more people are going to decide that Scrap Heap Scrounger is not as main deckable as they might have hoped it would be if we're falling away from Teferi decks. If we stay in a control meta and there's like some kind of control build that does help fight back against these Goblin Chainwhirler decks, then you will see the Scrap Heap Scrounger stick around. But if the control starts to fade away because Pro Tour Dominaria results, then Scrap Heap Scrounger is actually at a bad spot in the meta just because it doesn't produce that blocker for you. It's still a really good way to crew the Heart of Kirin, but when your opponents are going to have, Goblin Chainwhirlers on the other side, Scrap Heap Scrounger is not going to be attacking or blocking. So just something to think about. Hefe, man, happy birthday. I hate that we only made it into Game 3 and didn't get to walk away with the win on this, but I do like your deck. I like some of the things you got going on here, and it's really gotten me to thinking about, hey, is it time to go revisit that Teamer Energy deck? Last thing, and on that note, if you decide to change Warlord Rada, either look into putting taking both the Black Blades and the Warlord Rada out of the deck and just run 4 Bristling Hydras. I think that that would be a really good spot in this deck, or a really good, you know, really good card in this deck. 4 Bristling Hydras would be nice. Or if you don't want to take the Black Blades out and you do only take the Radas out, 2 Bristling Hydras. I think Bristling Hydra is a nice budget option for that 4 mana, and I think it fits with the deck fairly well. So that's what I've got for you, man. I hope that you enjoyed the gameplay. I know I made a couple punts there, but it's Magic, right? I did enjoy the deck. I like the red green here. I think that if you're not going to play the Lifecrafter's Bestiary, then Greenbelt Rampager, because of the way that it's being played in the original version here, you're paying 3 mana for it almost always. I think it would be better as a Thrashing Brontodon if you don't add the Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Other than, like, if there's not a way to get some use out of that extra energy, I think that Brontodon's just better for the converted mana cost. You're still paying 3 green to get this out. Just something to think about. The other options are just play Bestiary and make the most out of your bouncing elephant. So, remember, Dumbo can fly. Guys, my name's Eric. Give Hefe some love. Smash that like button. If you want to support the channel, you want to get your deck played, Patreon Games is available for about another 8 people, I think we've got room for. Either way, if you guys want to check that out, links in the description box below. If you want to play this deck or any other deck, Manatraders has got you covered. Coupon code below to save yourself some money. And Hefe, great deck. Loved it. Take care.